Hello?
Beep, 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 beep. 'Tis I, the Edijester. Unlike my alter ego Barry, who does he think he is? Right? He gave the conservators the time of day by putting it under the Winning Mindset Warrior Teacher banner when he reviewed their new manifesto for the election drubbing they're about to get. I've wrestled the camera from his hand and I've decided that we're going to do this about the Labour Party because it's much more fitting that the Jester would have a pop at the Labour Party than that nut Barry, right? So I've read it now and I still don't know what they want to do. It's utterly insane. That's the only way to describe it. It's utterly insane, most of it. You got the usual stuff. Yeah, we're going to change the NHS. They've been saying that since I could walk. We're going to do X, Y, Z. People won't be waiting in the corridors. I mean, there's more money gone in the NHS than anything else in the country. It's just bonkers, right? And then they've also said, oh, what we really need to do is we need to net zero by 2030. We shall have you living in caves, scratching your ass on granite. Okay, so that's some of what they're doing already, and they're going to take back the streets. I don't know how they're going to do that. Take back the streets, and they intend to break down barriers to opportunities for young people, and they're going to build an NHS fit for the future. I've used the NHS extensively in the past, and I have to tell you, I think the NHS is fit for most things, but it does need looking at, and they aren't going to do that. They'll just pour more money into it. So it's worth having a look at. It isn't as cohesive as the Tory one by any stretch of the imagination, but it's got different titles and it talks about something called mission-driven government. Are you telling me that the governments we had in the past didn't have one? It's supposed to be new. That's what they've said. It's new. Ending the conservative chaos is vital, but turning the page with a new government is not in itself enough to tackle the deep-rooted challenges for our country now faces. To rebuild Britain, we need to change how Britain is governed. Do we? For too long, Britain has been held back by governments that, because they lack a relentless focus on long-term ends, are buffeted about by events. And you think you're not going to be buffeted about by events? Politics has enormous potential to change lives for the better, but too often different parts of the government have pursued their own narrow goals rather than working together. This is absolutely extraordinary. The civil service has been acting like a Soviet state in its own right for the past 15 years. Right? And for the past, God knows that, actually it's not that long, because before that it used to be okay. It's about 10 years. Been acting like a Soviet state since EDI and all the crap from the left arrived. And here he is saying this. I'm quite frankly, I'm surprised, stunned, and nay horrified by what I'm reading. Okay? Britain needs a new approach. Mission-driven government. What? Mission-driven government, this is just pablum. Mission-driven government means raising our sights as a nation and focusing on ambitious, measurable, long-term objectives. What? Like net zero? Oh my lord! Like net zero. Yep. Back to the Stone Age. Yep, ULEZ zones. Yeah, they're going to put bananas up your tailpipe so you can't drive your car. And we're going to make sure everybody's got electric cars that are filled with batteries from cobalt mines that's mined by children. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. The other one is that they're going to have an energy policy that means that we run on clean energy. And they're the ones, along with the Green Lobby, that have delayed the nuclear program that means we're in trouble in the first place. It is so clueless that somebody asked me, I can't remember who it was, but somebody asked me online, are you going to do a video about the Labour Party thing? And I said, yeah, it's on its way. So, but I don't know what to say because I really don't know what they're saying. It's just corporate gobbledygook, as opposed to being stuff that you can get your teeth into. But let's have a go anyway, shall we, and see what we've got here. Make Britain a clean energy superpower to cut bills, create jobs and deliver security with cheaper, zero-carbon electricity by 2030, accelerating to net zero, so they're going to get faster. More ULEZ zones, more 15-minute cities. This is a communist manifesto. This is a communist manifesto, right? But obviously from the perspective of myself and those who are warrior teachers, etc., what we're really interested in is what they're going to do about, first of all, things like education, and then things like the LGBT cult and how they're going to deal with them. Well, of course, they aren't going to deal with them, are they? They aren't going to deal with them, and that's the whole point, is that they're not they're not going to deal with them. So I find it absolutely extraordinary that not only have they got in here that they're going to they're going to expand things like the race relations, so that they're going to have a new race act. They're going to bring back the Islamophobia nonsense. They're going to bring that back as well. They're quite happy with the Equality Act the way that it is, but they're going to protect single-sex bases. Yeah, right. Okay. This is what they're saying. I'm not kidding. The link's in the Dubris. You can go and have a damn look. Because I sat there this morning and I desperately tried to find some way of doing this in which I could really compare it to something that's real, rather than this very odd mishmash of ideas that doesn't seem to have a central theme at all. And when we come to education, you can look at, we're going to recruit 6,500 new expert teachers in key subjects. Are you which subjects? You remember the Tories said STEM? They haven't said it. Why haven't they said it? What do they mean by key subjects? Social sciences? Is that what they mean by key subject? Because they didn't say STEM. Clarify it, Starmer. Do you mean STEM? And do you exclude the social sciences from that? Do you mean STEM? Right? They're not saying that. So they're going to recruit 6,500 new expert teachers. They can't recruit the ones that they can't recruit now. Where are you going to get them? What are you going to do? The Tories have said we've got starting salaries up to 30 grand for teachers. Nothing about that there. It should be 30 grand to start. Within 2 years, that should be 40. Within 5 years, it should be 60. And by the time they've done 5 years, it should shoot up to 90. That's what teachers should be being paid. And top teachers should certainly be in the six-figure bracket. You want good teachers? Pay for them. That's where we get good teachers. Okay? And then we can seriously hold them to account for what they do. Right? Then we can. They also say they're going to have a modern curriculum so young people are ready for work and life. Careful. The devil's in the detail. They've already said elsewhere that they're going to focus on life skills in school. What does that mean? We ask ourselves. What does life skills mean? I'll tell you what it means. Social emotional learning. And what is social emotional learning? Critical social justice. And what is critical social justice? Totalitarian leftism. It's in here. It's not written, but it's in here. If you can parse what they're saying, that's what's in here. Okay? There's some good bits. They want, high quality apprenticeships, and they want technical colleges. So this is back to the same thing as the Conservatives are doing. But I don't think they're capable of doing it. I really don't, because they're going to have to deal with the union blob at the universities, aren't they? They're never going to deal with the unions because they're backed by the unions. The only ones that have got a chance of dealing with the unions, which is the next big job, by the way, is breaking the unions because they're so full of this critical social justice rubbish, is the Tories. They're not going to be able to do this. We know they're coming in and we're all hunkering down and going, right, what's the 10-year plan now? Because that's what we're at now, 10-year plan. We're going to have to undermine them every step of the way. Every step of the way, we're going to have to make sure they're held account. It's just extraordinary to me that they don't yet grasp that they're the problem culturally. Talks about ending the cultural Tory war, the Tory culture war. I mean, really? Really? You're the culture war. You've caused this. The left and the liberal lunatics have caused this, whether you like it or not. And you're going to have to deal with it. But you won't, will you? Because we know they've already said they're also going to pass a conversion therapy bill, which includes trans, which of course is transing the gay away. They're then going to make it easier for trans people to self-ID, but they're going to protect women's spaces. It's absolutely discordant. How can you trust a damn word they say? I wanted to be able to go through it and say, right, that's good, we like this, looks promising. But the way it's laid out is very difficult to do. And secondly, it speaks in such waffle that you could find it very hard to find something to sort of tack on to. It's just strange. Labour is determined, they say, to raise school standards for every child and ensure they are prepared for the future. School standards are very high in this country. Very high. They're far higher now than they were when you left in 2010, whenever it was. It was 2010, wasn't it? Far higher. So what exactly are you going to do? Undo what's been done? We know how the left feels about Catherine Birbal Singh and the success of her school. So what are you going to do? Undo what's been done in the last few years to get education right, because it is right in many ways. The problem we've got is the activist teachers in the schools, but you've mentioned nothing about dealing with them. Whereas the Tories have said STEM universities are going to be defunded with their nonsense degrees. There's nothing about that in here. This is the manifesto of the current status quo and the ability to accelerate our move towards a much more socialist future. And that should worry us all. I'm waiting to see what you've got to say in the comments, because I found it hard to navigate it, let alone anything else. It's almost weird how they've laid it out. It's not clear. It's a website rather than a PDF. And they're quoting, of all people, Imelda Staunton. That's that woman from Harry Potter, isn't it? What was her name? Horrible woman, made him write, and it made blood on his hands. What was she called? Come on! I welcome Labour's proposal, she says, set out by Keir Starmer to broaden opportunity and make sure all young people have access to the arts. Careful. Careful. Right, so this is what that's Imelda Staunton. It makes no sense. This is like a marketing document rather than being a proper manifesto. And then we've got the respect and equality for all section. Everyone in this country deserves a government that matches their ambition. Labour will ensure no matter whatever your background you can thrive, and therefore we will enact the socio-economic duty in the Equality Act 2010. Enact the socio... What does that mean exactly? Is that saying that they're going to enact equity into the law? These questions need to be answered. Because right now, from my perspective, after spending an hour reading all of this, I am none the wiser than when I started and more worried than when I started. Because what this seems to me is more of the same of the type of stuff that our culture has given us under the Tories. They're not attending to deal with the cultural problems we've got, which is, of course, upstream of politics. It says here, women's equality will be at the heart of our mission, but they fail to say what a woman is. Our plan to make work pay will transform the lives of working women, including strengthening rights to equal pay and protections from maternity and menopause discrimination and sexual harassment. We've got all that anyway. And they're conflating different things. Labour will take action to reduce the gender pay gap. Oh, please give it a rest. The gender pay gap isn't the problem. The class pay gap is the problem. The gender pay gap is the purview of women earning 50 grand who are peed off because of blokes earning 51. That's not where we should be, and that's not what a Labour Party stands for. It never has and never should. They will produce the new landmark Race Equality Act to enshrine in law the full right to equal pay. What are you talking about? They're going backwards in time. It's absolutely insane. I literally can't make sense of it or see a thread according to this mission, government mission, which they've got, as if no government has never had a mission before. So-called conversion therapy is abuse. There is no other word for it. Yeah, there is. Transing the gay away. That's what's abusive. Repeal the GRA. Amend the Equality Act. They have no intention of doing any of this. Self-ID will be it. That's what they're after, and that's what they're going to give us. People, they're going to protect the freedom for people to explore their sexual orientation, and gender identity doesn't exist. The Tories didn't mention gender identity. The Tories said that they're going to ensure it isn't taught in schools. You vote for this, you are voting for the end. I'm not kidding. You're voting for a race to the end. Net zero, rubbish about gender, social emotional learning in schools. Gender identity will be enshrined as something as if it's real. They'll amend the Equality Act to make sure that race can be treated as if it's separate from anything else. They are creating a society based on grievance. And then, you'll find out what it really means to live in a society run by victimhood narratives. Because they always fall to psychopathy. I wish I had better news for you. I sadly don't. That's my take. Give me yours in the comments as usual. Have a great day. I'm going to get some sleep. Been teaching all night. I'll see you later. Become a warrior teacher, by the way. January. Not January. See, I'm tired. June. starting next week. Come on, come be a war teacher. Links in the doobers. I'll see you later. Bye-bye, everyone.